Hi, I'm Erika Randall. I'm the content director for HR Daily Advisor, and I'm here with Tyrese Manigault. And we are here in lovely Orlando for the Spark HR conference. And Tyrese is one of the speakers here. And Tyrese, you're from NASCAR, and I wanted to let you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So I am, as you said, with NASCAR.
Yes.
So I serve as the manager of employee engagement.
Awesome.
So based in Daytona Beach, Florida. Been with NASCAR now about 3 years. So I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina,
Nice.
and then relocated to Daytona in 2022.
Mhm.
So it has been quite the journey so far. NASCAR is exciting. We are fast speed, but we are a organization and a sport that is filled with a lot of excitement,
Mhm.
a lot of fast-paced cars all over the place. But we have so many great employees that are committed and dedicated to making sure that we produce one of the greatest sports there is, especially in North America. So working on the HR front with an amazing team, we do a great job of ensuring that our employees have everything they need to, um, drive an amazing workforce and an organization known
Absolutely.
as NASCAR.
Well, and that brings me to employee engagement. That's what your topic was
Hmm.
for your presentation. So I want to dig into that
Yeah.
some more. So in your presentation, you talked about some really cool things that NASCAR is doing for employee engagement. One of those things is you've started a live onboarding
Mhm.
for new employees called the Pit Crew Academy. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, I would say, well, a couple of years ago, just based off the feedback that we were getting from employees,
Sure.
when I first got here, and another colleague of mine, Brooke, when she got here,
Mhm.
we didn't have a live onboarding
Mm.
process, a
Mhm.
live orientation of sorts.
Mhm.
So we were able to see, there's some work that we can do, some changes that we can make.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was a team effort. I can
Mhm.
say that it was a team effort because there were so many pieces and facets to incorporate into that live orientation, from exposing employees to L&D, to benefits and wellness, to payroll, employee engagement, impact, the NASCAR Foundation.
Mm.
There are so many, and then just the sport itself,
Sure.
learning a little bit about the history of the sport, working as a team to bring all of those units and facets together and give it to them in probably about an hour.
Yeah.
you know it took some time to put that together, but the team does really well to come together and present it to employees in a virtual setting so that anyone can join no matter where they are.
I see.
And we do it roughly twice every 2 weeks. So
Wow.
that
That's
way
a lot.
there's a good cadence no
Yes.
matter when a new hire joins.
Yeah.
I think when we first started it, it was about every month,
Sure.
but we realized there may be a bit of a gap from
Uh-huh.
when an employee starts,
Yeah.
and we didn't want it to be a lag.
Yeah.
So once we changed it, we realized there was more participation, better feedback.
Hmm.
We have new hire surveys so that employees can let us know, hey, how is the onboarding process? How is the orientation? Anything else we can do? And that's what helps us to make adjustments with our orientation, and just adjust the cadence, the structure. And it's been working really well for us so far.
So tell me about NASCAR University, a career pathway for employees that are already at NASCAR. So tell me more about that. Tell us all about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, NASCAR University is something that existed when I came into NASCAR.
Okay. Yeah.
So once I got there, with the work of the L&D team and HR, we made an effort to relaunch the entire platform
Wow.
to all of our employees. So it's really a space where we can come in and create pathways, but also a space where employees can learn about the sport itself. They can learn about everything from Excel, Microsoft. We have a partnership now with LinkedIn Learning, so employees have access to thousands of different learning sessions that they can do. So just that relaunch itself is something that's very different, but also creative for us. Just the name NASCAR University is like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just different.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you see it, it's just different, and it's very catchy. But we have created it to be something that employees go to,
Hmm.
and even the pathways that you have, like for example, the finance team, they have different pathways
Sure. Hmm.
that can speak to the different things that they do, the work that they do.
Sure.
But then you also have things, for HR, or you have things for our competition team, or for our operations team, or our track team. So there are just different things that speak to different groups.
Yeah.
So with NASCAR University, we've amplified that times 1,000.
Wow.
Just to be able to meet our employees where they are and give them what they're asking for, but in a way that's just more modernized and creative.
What a great idea to really make it customized for each group. Because that's really striking at the core of employee engagement, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're really making it an individual experience as well, or a departmental experience.
And that's where engagement really plays a part, because we have to work with each of our teams. So, working with our L&D team that we have, and that's where engagement is a little different for us, because we have a learning and development team. Of course, we're all in HR, but being able to work with them, and they specialize in learning and development, and being able to work on that strategy by itself. It's good because, we have a team dedicated to it. But then I'm able to work with them just to say, how do we engage more employees? They work with me, I work with them, we all work together, and they're amazing. They are amazing in what they do. It's a couple persons that do it, but we all work as a unit. Exactly. And they're awesome at what they do.
Oh, that sounds like such a great program. The final thing is, you also mentioned NASCAR High Five. And that's a recognition program. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
So in 2022, when I first came in, we did not have a peer-to-peer recognition program.
Okay. Yep.
But we did have our core values, and we had our vision at NASCAR, our mission.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was something that employees wanted. After we did our first company-wide survey, we knew that we wanted to do that. We were starting to get a framework together, but the survey reinforced it even more that, hey, employees want this.
Great.
So we designed it ourselves internally from scratch. So we did no integration with third-party vendors or anything of the sorts, no integrations. We worked with our IT team, SharePoint, Office 365, and we built it around our core values. So employers are able to give high fives, and celebrate what their peers are doing, and tie it back to a core value, and say, hey, you're stewarding, or you're driven, and here is why, here's what you did.
Yep.
Thank you for helping me on this, or thank you for going out of your way for that. And then we just continued to amplify it. Before, it was just you get a notification. Then we started to add certificates to it. Then we started to add more challenges to it, to where, you want to collect all 6 of the core values.
Oh, yeah.
And then we added more visibility to it, to where when you get a core value or get a high five, that notification goes to your manager. So now my manager is aware that I got a recognition from another employee. So they're aware of the hard work that I'm doing without me even having to say anything. So that just creates more visibility from the wall of fame that we have, so that all employees can see what's going on. We have a leadership dashboard so that all of our officers can see what their department level recognition looks like.
Oh, wow.
All of those things matter, so that they can also be champions for recognition.
Yeah.
So now it's transitioned from being something that we have to push out to being more embedded in the culture.
Yeah.
And now here we are this year, we're up 275%.
Wow.
With our
That's
recognition
huge.
efforts. So in the first quarter of this year alone, we surpassed all of the high fives that we had last year combined.
Wow.
Within the first 3 months of this year. So we didn't have to ask employees, they did it on their own because they want to.
Exactly.
So that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that is incredible, and it really speaks to the culture that you've created, you and other teams have created.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Another thing, in your presentation, you talked about silence can kill engagement, but what's worse than that? And you said bad communication. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I know that especially with, NASCAR, we have so many different environments, whether it's corporate office, then we have track, and then we have remote. And there is so many forms of communication that we had. But then you talk about our intranet and, how we communicate, how we receive information.
Sure.
And something that we wanted to pay attention to is, are employees aware of what's going on?
Right. Yeah.
And how soon are they being made aware of what's going on? Are they involved in, decisions that are being made? And sometimes employees are just concerned about those things. It's not the fact that, things are happening, but
Sure.
how they're finding out that things are happening, or when they're finding out things are happening, or do they understand what's happening?
Sure.
And I think that's really the biggest one is, do they understand what's happening? So simple things like how we word communication, making it simple. And that's one of the key messages towards the end of the presentation that I talked about was, have we made it simple enough for employees? The messaging, is it simple enough for employees to understand? And it's not to say that we have to, tone it down, but it's just layman's terms. So
Right.
that employees, because we have so much business jargon
Right.
and corporate jargon that we have
Acronyms.
and keywords and
Yeah.
sophistication, but let's just bottle all that up and make it simple so that employees understand, hey, we're doing X, Y, and Z for A, B, and C.
Sure.
And those things make a big difference so that employees don't feel left out,
Correct.
or
yeah.
it doesn't feel like, an organization is trying to hide something from them
Right. Yeah.
behind, sophisticated words or acronyms of such.
Sure.
And I think as we've done that and made it creative, because bad communication is also, that isn't appealing.
Right.
It's just an email. It's like, yeah, you get emails all day long.
Sure.
So
yeah.
making
yeah.
graphics, making them look, eye-catching, and it pops off of the page. Things like that also make a difference, and that takes intentionality.
Yes.
That takes out-of-the-box thinking,
Yeah.
and kind of drawing things up in a way that meets employees. But then it's also meeting employees where they are, and
Right.
that every employee doesn't have access to a cell phone or to a laptop.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
there are some locations where you may have to do bulletin boards,
Sure.
and then
yeah.
others where you may need to do TV screens. Meet everyone where they are, because all of those things are forms of good or bad communication,
Yeah.
and we just have to be aware of it.
Exactly. Well, these are all great strategies. NASCAR is doing a great job with employee engagement, and you're doing a great job
Thank you.
yourself. So,
Thank you.
just one last thing. What is one takeaway that HR professionals need to know right now?
I would say one takeaway that HR professionals should know right now is, as we ask employees for feedback, be sure that you are ready and willing to take action on that feedback.
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest thing that we can be aware of. I think feedback is always important, but I would also say that with that feedback, it's always best to ask it when we are in a position to take action.
Correct.
That is the best thing. And if we're not ready to take action, then it's probably best to just hold off on asking for feedback. Or if we're not prepared to take action in a moment, let's just be transparent and say, hey, we just want your feedback right now just to get an understanding
Yeah.
of where we are, and then post feedback, let employees know what we're planning to do with it.
Yeah.
But feedback and then silence afterwards leaves employees a bit skeptical,
Sure.
and a little uncertain about what's going on, and it takes trust away from future opportunities to get it. So
Yeah.
if we're going to ask for feedback, be willing to take action at some point afterwards.
That's great advice. We need to be real with our
Yes.
employees. And so thank you for that so much, Tyrese, that last piece of advice. What's your favorite Disney character? I have to ask since we're in Disney Springs.
Favorites of all time for everyone listening is always Stitch. Can never go wrong with Stitch. I don't care what anyone says, Stitch is always the best. So that's just, he's always one of my favorites. I have Stitch sitting in my house right now. So that's
That's awesome.
He's in my house, he's in my car. So I actually just bought a Stitch fan at Disney Springs
Fun.
yesterday.
Oh my goodness, that's
So,
great.
yes, Stitch is my
Awesome.
favorite.
Well, great. Tyrese, thanks so much again for being on our podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm Erika Randall for HR Daily Advisor. Thank you so much for watching our podcast, and have a great afternoon.